Imagine finding out your company network has been completely hacked, but the hackers aren't aggressively smashing through a firewall in the dead of night.
Right. No alarms going off.
Exactly. Instead, they are quietly sneaking your stolen data out the front door by RSVPing to a calendar meeting scheduled for the year 2050.
I mean, it sounds like a premise for a science fiction movie, but it is actually a highly sophisticated piece of malware operating in the wild today.
It's wild.
It really is. It turns the boring, everyday software we trust into a literal weapon.
And that wild reality is exactly why we are digging into this massive stack of updates from the July 21st, 2026 morning briefing. Today, we are looking at a world where digital brilliance and physical fragility are just colliding. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today is to sift through these sources for you, and we're covering everything from global geopolitics and AI infrastructure to K-12 education and even a viral hot dog trend.
Quite the mix.
Yeah, but we're here to find the signal in the noise for you. And looking across all this information, the overarching theme is undeniable. We're looking at resilience and innovation in incredibly complex systems. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's start by grounding that digital chaos in the physical world, because
Yeah.
you can have the most advanced frictionless technology on Earth, but we are still bound by geography and weather.
Yeah, we really are.
The first few updates today aggressively shatter the illusion that we live in a purely digital world.
The physical world is absolutely pushing back. I mean, I was looking at the brief on Yemen. The Houthi movement has announced a full maritime blockade against Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And this is direct retaliation for a strike on the Sanaa airport. And because of where this is happening, it is instantly threatening the Bab al-Mandeb shipping corridor.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, physical choke points instantly rattle digital supply chains.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bab al-Mandeb Strait is essentially the jugular for global trade between Europe and Asia.
It's massive.
Yeah, and Saudi Arabia is pledging to protect vessels, but, the declaration alone has sent marine insurers and freight trackers into an absolute panic.
But wait, help me wrap my head around the panic here. Because we have incredibly advanced digital logistics now.
Yeah.
We can pull up a dashboard and track the exact latitude and longitude of every single shipping container on Earth in real time.
We can, yeah.
So doesn't the software just automatically reroute the supply chain?
Well, the software can recalculate a route in milliseconds, yes.
Huh.
But a massive physical cargo ship carrying 200,000 tons of goods cannot teleport.
Fair point.
Our digital tracking creates a really dangerous illusion of control. If a physical waterway is blocked, the digital supply chain instantly breaks down. You just end up with a very high-tech, real-time digital map of a massive traffic jam.
Wow, just watching the dots stop moving on the screen.
Exactly. To get around that physical blockade, ships have to sail all the way around the Horn of Africa. And that adds weeks to the journey, burns millions of gallons of extra fuel, and ultimately it drives up the price of everything from electronics to your morning coffee.
So it's like having a state-of-the-art AI-driven irrigation system for a massive commercial farm. The sensors are perfect, the software is brilliant, but someone just drove a tractor over the main water pipe at the source.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like, the sensors can scream all they want, but nothing flows. And this physical vulnerability isn't just about the economy. It is literally about human survival. I mean, look at the reports out of Bangladesh today.
Yeah, the monsoon landslides and the Rohingya refugee settlements in Cox's Bazar.
Yeah.
It is the tragic compounding of physical failures.
It really is.
Dozens have been killed, including children, and thousands are displaced.
Human rights groups and aid organizations are pointing out that these incredibly congested hillside camps, they simply lack the physical drainage infrastructure to handle seasonal rains of this magnitude.
Which is a huge structural issue.
They are desperately calling for permanent shelter solutions. It just emphasizes that when a population is displaced, the physical environment is completely unforgiving.
And that constraint of physical space applies to borders and political movement as well. We saw a rare shift today with the Cuban dissident artist, Luis Manuel Otero Alcantara.
Right. After 5 years in prison, he has been released.
But the condition of his release was that he had to leave the island.
Yeah, the sources note he arrived in Miami and he was greeted by crowds and draped in a Cuban flag printed with Patria y Vida.
Which is the protest anthem he actually helped create.
Right.
Observers are noting it as a significant movement during an otherwise stagnant and difficult period for dissidents there. It is yet another reminder of how heavily monitored and constrained physical human movement remains, even in this globally connected era.
So physical movement is choked by geography and borders? But when we pivot to the tech and energy sectors in this briefing, the bottleneck isn't geography at all. It's silicon and it's electricity.
Oh, absolutely.
We are witnessing an all-out race to build the physical hardware that will power our future. So let's look at AMD rolling out their new Helios racks.
This is a monumental shift in the tech landscape.
Yeah.
Up until now, NVIDIA has basically held a monopoly on the massive data center hardware that trains AI.
They were the only game in town.
Essentially, yeah.
Mhm.
But AMD is packaging their latest GPUs, the Instinct MI455X and their EQIC processors, into these massive Helios systems. And Microsoft just signed on to deploy them across its Azure cloud network.
So Microsoft is actively trying to break its total reliance on NVIDIA, but Alphabet, Google's parent company, they are taking a totally different route.
They are.
Their stock jumped over 2% because of rumors about a highly efficient internal server chip they are building, which is codenamed Frozen V2.
What's fascinating here is the engineering approach. Because instead of using a general-purpose processor to run their AI software, Alphabet is reportedly baking the architecture for their Gemini AI directly into the physical silicon of the chip itself.
Hold on, I really need you to explain that. If AI is the new gold rush, are AMD and Alphabet essentially just trying to sell cheaper, highly efficient pickaxes to break NVIDIA's monopoly on the hardware?
That's a perfect analogy. And as for how Alphabet is doing it, think about how a standard computer works. It has to constantly translate software instructions into electrical signals, rapidly moving data back and forth between the memory chips and the processor.
Right, the data is always traveling.
And that movement takes time and burns massive amounts of energy. By etching the neural network architecture physically into the chip, the data doesn't have to travel back and forth. The physical layout of the microscopic wires literally is the AI model.
Oh, wow, that's wild.
Because of this, they are projecting a 6 to 10 times boost in power efficiency by 2028.
Okay, so power efficiency is the real hurdle here. We aren't just trying to build smarter AI, we're trying to build AI that doesn't completely melt the global power grid.
Precisely. The sheer amount of electricity required to run these data centers is staggering. Think about the computational energy it takes to generate just one single AI image on your phone.
Just one image.
Now multiply that by 1 billion users every single day. The power draw is unprecedented.
Which gives massive context to the general fusion news in the briefing. They just became the first pure-play fusion energy company to go public on the NASDAQ under the ticker GFUZ.
Right.
And the briefing notes that private funding for fusion energy has hit $4.5 billion over the last year alone.
Because for decades, nuclear fusion was a theoretical dream. It is the process that powers the sun, forcing atoms together to release nearly limitless clean energy without the radioactive waste of traditional nuclear fission.
But it was always a punchline, right? Like, fusion is 30 years away and always will be.
Exactly. But now it is getting billions in capital. Tech giants realize that to scale AI globally, they simply cannot rely on wind, solar, or natural gas alone. They need a fundamentally new baseload energy source. So the AI race is directly funding the fusion race.
So we are pouring billions into fusion to power billions of dollars of AI hardware. But what happens when these systems actually mature? Because the sources show this technology is incredibly capable and incredibly dangerous.
Yes, very dual use.
The UN just convened its first global dialogue on AI governance in Geneva.
And this raises an important question. How do you build an international regulatory framework for a technology that is simultaneously saving lives and empowering global crime syndicates?
It's a huge contradiction.
The independent scientific panel in Geneva, led by Yoshua Bengio, warned that science cannot yet guarantee these systems won't cause catastrophic harm.
But right next to that apocalyptic warning, we have an incredible medical breakthrough from the Mayo Clinic.
We do.
They deployed an AI model called RedMad to analyze CT scans.
And the results are genuinely a milestone for oncology. RedMad analyzed nearly 2,000 scans and identified pancreatic cancer up to 3 years before human doctors would normally catch it.
3 years. I mean, pancreatic cancer is notoriously one of the deadliest cancers, precisely because it is usually caught too late.
Right.
But what is RedMod actually seeing that a highly trained human oncologist is missing?
It is looking at the microscopic texture of the organ tissue.
Yeah.
Human eyes are trained to look for a tumor, a distinct mass. The AI is trained to detect incredibly subtle changes in tissue density and micropatterns in the image pixels that precede the actual mass.
That's incredible.
It is perceiving mathematical patterns that are simply invisible to human biology.
That is the miraculous side of the technology. But then we turn the page, And the same underlying concept, automation and pattern recognition, is supercharging cybercrime.
Yes, it is.
We have the Quillen ransomware gang aggressively exploiting a critical flaw in Palo Alto Network's Global Protect software. The brief calls it CVE 2026-0257.
Yes, and cybersecurity firm Arctic Wolf is warning that these gangs are evolving rapidly. They aren't just locking up networks anymore. They are running automated double extortion campaigns at scale.
Break down double extortion for me. What makes it worse than a standard hack?
Well, in a traditional ransomware attack, the hacker scrambles your files and you pay a ransom to get the decryption key.
Yeah.
But companies got smart and started keeping offline backups.
So they didn't need to pay.
Right. So the hackers adapted. In double extortion, before they scramble your files, they quietly copy all your sensitive data to their own servers.
Oh, no.
So even if you have backups and don't need their key, they threaten to leak your most confidential corporate emails, patient health records, or financial data to the public internet unless you pay up. It is blackmail layered on top of vandalism.
And to run an extortion business at that scale, you need a way to watch the money. Which leads us to the international takedown of the Audius 6 crypto money laundering pipeline.
Yeah, Europol, the FBI, and other agencies dismantled this network, arresting administrators in Georgia and seizing servers. Audius 6 had moved an estimated 336 million euros for these extortion gangs.
How does a pipeline like that actually work?
Criminals need to turn stolen Bitcoin into usable cash to buy real-world assets. So Audius 6 essentially acted as a massive digital tumbler. You throw your stolen cryptocurrency into a pool with thousands of other transactions. The software shuffles it all around endlessly and spits it back out to clean accounts, completely obscuring the original source.
That makes sense.
Choking off this financial plumbing is critical to stopping the gangs.
But the criminals just keep innovating their infiltration methods to bypass security. Which brings us back to that 2050 calendar invite we talked about at the top of the show.
The holograph malware.
Yes. I really want to understand the mechanics of this because it sounds completely absurd. So you're telling me malware is literally RSVPing to a calendar meeting in the year 2050 just to hide its stolen data?
It is brilliantly malicious. Many organizations rely on Microsoft 365, and they use something called the Graph API, which allows different internal apps to talk to your calendar and email. Holograph slips in and creates a calendar event for, say, November 2050. Standard corporate security software usually only scans immediate or near-term calendar activity for anomalies.
Because why would the security system care about a meeting scheduled 30 years from now?
Exactly. So the malware hides its command and control instructions in the notes or location field of that future invite.
Oh, wow.
The infected computer quietly checks that future calendar event, reads the hidden instructions, and uploads stolen files right under the security software's nose. It uses the organization's own legitimate calendar system as a covert communication channel.
That is terrifying, especially for organizations that rely on massive, complex IT systems but don't have corporate-level security teams. Which brings us perfectly to the reality on the ground for local school districts.
Yes, schools are prime targets for these exact kinds of attacks because they hold vast amounts of student data but usually have incredibly limited IT resources. The tech challenges at the K-12 level are far more grounded than Geneva's AI debates.
Selling a massive AI rack to a school IT director is like trying to sell a Ferrari to someone who just needs a minivan with doors that lock themselves.
It is very true.
I mean, a school IT director isn't worrying about AI taking over the world. They're worrying about a fifth grader accidentally downloading ransomware.
Right.
At the recent ISD and ASCD Education Tech Conference, ASUS and Intel debuted the AI-ready Chromebook 6A, and it is heavily focused on locking down these exact vulnerabilities.
They aren't leading with massive processing power. They are leading with centralized management. The two big features are zero-touch enrollment and a Titan C security chip.
What does zero-touch enrollment actually look like in practice?
Think of it as a digital shrink wrap. If a school district buys 5,000 of these devices, the IT team doesn't have to manually configure each one.
That would take forever.
Exactly. The moment a student connects the box to Wi-Fi for the very first time, it pings Google servers, registers that it belongs to the school district, and instantly pulls down every security policy, firewall rule, and app restriction before the student can even type a password.
It aggressively locks itself down immediately. And the Titan C chip.
That is hardware-level defense. It physically separates the encryption keys from the main processor.
Okay, so it isolates the most sensitive part.
Right. So even if a piece of malware like holograph somehow got onto the system, it physically cannot access the keys to modify the core operating system. It is highly practical defensive tech.
And prioritizing that kind of foundational stability seems to be paying off in the classroom. We have the 2026 ATLS state test results out of Arkansas, and the academic outcomes are showing real movement.
Overall proficiency climbed from 36.9% to 42.2%.
And the most significant jumps were in early literacy for grades K through 2. State officials are validating this against their Learns Act rollout.
That's a solid jump.
It is. It's a powerful reminder that amidst all these massive technological leaps and cyber threats, foundational systems like simply teaching a child how to read are still grinding forward and seeing measurable, hard-fought progress.
It is slow, steady work, and honestly navigating all of this, from global maritime blockades to ransomware to educational reform, it requires a massive cognitive load. Human beings simply cannot process this much complexity without a release valve.
We need a break. We need shared cultural moments to just blow off steam. And the end of this briefing highlights exactly how humanity is doing that. Let's talk about the ultimate shared experience, the World Cup.
Spain secured their second World Cup title, defeating the defending champions, Argentina, 1-0 in extra time. Ferran Torres scored the winner in the 105th minute.
And the narrative weight of that match was incredibly heavy. It marked the end of Lionel Messi's World Cup era.
It was an emotional game.
It is wild to think about millions of people across completely different cultures in a highly fragmented media landscape, all tuning in to watch that exact same moment and say goodbye to a legend.
These live sporting events serve a vital psychological function. They provide a structured, emotionally engaging narrative with high stakes that are ultimately safe. Millions can share in the tension and the release simultaneously. We saw the same dynamic at Wimbledon.
Oh, with Lina Noskova.
Yes, she defeated Karolina Muchova in the first all-Czech women's singles final of the Open era.
She became the youngest champion since 2011. It was a historic moment. But here's where it gets really interesting, because not all cultural release valves are historic, elite sporting events. Some are just gloriously absurd. I have to ask you, have you participated in the hot dog summer trend yet?
I have managed to avoid painting hot dogs on my nails, thankfully.
Yeah.
But from a sociological perspective, its viral spread on TikTok and Instagram is genuinely fascinating.
People are throwing hot dog-themed parties, baking novelty cakes, wearing the merchandise. It has completely taken over the internet this July.
And there is immense psychological value in that absurdity. When the daily news cycle is dominated by geopolitical tension and complex AI threats, a trend that spreads simply because it is silly and joyful acts as a necessary communal touchpoint.
Just a collective exhale.
Right. Doesn't require deep analysis or debate. It just requires a smile.
It is pure low-stakes fun. But as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to merge that sense of joy with something highly consequential. Because hidden at the bottom of this stack of updates is a quiet, life-saving scientific breakthrough. Sir Adrian Hill just won the European Patent Office's top 2026 Invention Prize.
For the R21 Matrix M malaria vaccine, this is a monumental achievement in applied science.
The statistics are staggering. It hit between 75 and 80% efficacy, which crushes the World Health Organization's targets. But the real miracle here is the cost. It is under €3 a dose.
That cost factor is the entire ballgame. Malaria primarily devastates lower-income countries. A highly effective vaccine that costs €100 a dose is fundamentally useless to the populations that need it the most.
So how did they engineer it to be so cheap and effective at the same time? Like, what is the Matrix M part of this?
Matrix M is an adjuvant. It is a specific compound added to the vaccine to boost the body's immune response. Historically, malaria parasites were incredibly good at hiding from the human immune system.
Sneaky.
Very. This specific adjuvant stimulates a massive, highly robust immune reaction using only a tiny fraction of the actual vaccine antigen.
Oh, I see.
Because they need significantly less of the active ingredient per dose, they can manufacture it at an unprecedented scale, driving the cost down to under €3.
So what does this all mean?
It suggests a necessary rebalancing of our global priorities.
Yeah.
We see trillions of dollars flowing into AI processors and fusion reactors, and that dominates the headlines. But this malaria vaccine is a triumph of unglamorous, highly focused engineering.
Doing the quiet work?
Exactly. It proves that innovation isn't just about building faster computers. It is about systematically dismantling devastating global problems through scalable, brilliant design.
Wow. We have covered an immense amount of ground today. From physical cargo ships bottlenecked in the Red Sea to malware lurking in 2050 calendar invites, all the way to a €3 vaccine that is fundamentally changing human health. I hope you are walking away with a much clearer map of how all these complex, overlapping systems actually function for you.
And I'd like to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own. Consider the profound paradox of the infrastructure we rely on. The exact same digital networks that are currently fighting off sophisticated double extortion ransomware are the very same networks delivering absurd hot dog summer memes to your phone
That's so true.
and coordinating the global logistics to deliver cheap, life-saving malaria vaccines to remote villages. It is one fragile, incredibly complex, deeply human system, and you are participating in it every single time you open your laptop or check your phone.
What a brilliant perspective. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel a little more connected to the mechanics of the world today. Stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.